Hey everybody, I'm Matt Rosenthal, IT and cybersecurity professional, and today I've got a really important question for all you CEOs or decision makers out there. What are the top 5 things that you should know about cybersecurity? What 5 questions should you be asking yourself? The first and most important question that I want to put out there to you, do you have a live inventory of your assets? So if you think about whether or not you're secure, you might think to yourself, well, yeah, somebody in my company tells me I'm secure. My people that are in IT tell me we're good. Well, that's not good enough, right? Because you're relying on people who you certainly should be able to trust, and I'm sure they're doing the best they can for you. But for you to really take ownership as the decision maker, as the executive, you need to know what assets you have. Why does that matter? It matters because those assets are the things that create the risk. That's where the gaps are, right? So it could be computers, it could be servers, it could be firewall switches, your people, right? The employees are assets. When you really think about that, like collectively, you say to yourself, well, gee, I'm not really sure. You'll find yourself going back to the people in your company and saying, hey, do we have a list of all of our assets? That answer must be yes. Because with the list of all the assets, that gives you the ability to look at it and say, okay, what do we need to do to make sure that each one of these is as secure as possible? So this may seem obvious, it may seem like something like, yeah, of course we have that. I'm telling you that in a lot of cases, people don't have that. And once you do get that, you might be reminded of like, oh wow, we put some new software in place like 2 years ago. We had this third-party vendor come in and we gave them access to our network. Wow, we never shut that access down. How do you find that out? Because when you're going through your assets, part of that is looking at the people. And when you look at all the people that are active in your company and you see a name of so-and-so who's not with the company and you're like, wait, who is that? You remember, oh wow, we did that software project 2 years ago for a new CRM to run the company. It's going great, but you never shut down the access. That comes from a live inventory. That access oftentimes is how people exploit your business, right? They can get in because you've forgotten about the password and they are able to break that password. Next thing you know, they're in. I've seen it happen. I've seen $100 million companies brought to their knees because of that exact example. So do you keep a live inventory? The answer needs to be yes. If it's not yes, and I would strongly advise you get on top of that quickly. The second question you should be asking yourself, are your employees properly educated? So the topic of social engineering is important because it's the people, it's your employees, it's everybody in the company understanding and knowing what a cybersecurity threat looks like and what they can do to reduce the risk. So all you can do is educate. Okay, you can tell people here and there, hey, don't click on emails if you're not sure who they came from. You can kind of throw tidbits out, but if you don't have a regular program of training, then how can you really be sure that the people who are your frontline, who are your employees, who are checking emails all day long, who are going on websites, who are doing all sorts of things, where the bad guys are out there preying on your employees, hoping that they're maybe a little tired, a little lazy today, a little complacent today, and they click on something, give some information. Next thing you know, that bad guy is in your company. Are your employees properly educated is the answer to reducing the risk there. You really need to make sure that there's a solid program in place. You don't overlook it. You don't look at it as something that is, costs too much. There's never too much investment you can put in making sure that your business isn't brought to its knees. The third question is, does your strategy actually work? Now, as a CEO or an executive, again, you may say, well, I have an IT director or I outsource to somebody, or there are people that are in your world who you believe and have faith and confidence and trust in that they are doing all the right things, rightfully so. You can't take a hands-off approach. Like, you really need to get in there. This is too big of a risk to your business. You need to get in there and you need to be talking to these people. You need to be asking questions and you need to be confirming that the strategy that's in place actually does work. How do you find out? Sit everybody in a room, get on a Zoom call, do whatever you need to do, but ask the question, pass that along. Hey, what's our strategy? Does it actually work? Has it been tested? Have we gotten a second opinion? Have we changed it in the past year? There's all sorts of questions that come out of this question of, does your strategy work? You're in a business, you don't keep the same strategy year after year after year. Based on the market, based on things that are happening, you change it. Same thing with cybersecurity, you cannot get complacent. Fourth question that you should ask yourself is, what preventative measures have been taken? I mean, it might sound similar to the rest of the questions because in a way it is, but this is very specific, right? Maybe going back to the list of assets, you ought to get a list of actual measures that have been taken by whomever it is in your company that you've tasked with overseeing cybersecurity. You want to make sure that they've got every single key process in place, and that those measures such as antivirus, firewall, switch updates, firmware updates for servers, those are all technical things. And most importantly, the biggest risk to your company, that the people are being trained, that they're being given sensitivity, awareness to what to look for. Those preventative measures all should tie back to metrics. Everything should come back to metrics and reports. If you're not getting reports every month, there's no possible way for you to know if the measures that you have in place are actually working. It's impossible. Would you hire a sales team and then say to your sales team, go out and sell? And you're kind of like, yeah, it seems like we're selling. Next thing you know, you're not looking at reports and you're finding out, wait a minute, my top line is dropping, something's not right here. Well, if you look at the reports, you'll see that, wow, we feel busy because we have all these leads coming in, but nobody's converting those into sales, and all of a sudden you have a business problem. This is the same thing. You've got to look at metrics, and you have to actually look at those preventative measures and measure them, okay? Ask yourself if you're doing that. Last question, what's your confidence in recovery? So let's say that you've done all of these things, and you've done the best you can, you've asked all the questions and everything's in place. There's no guarantee that you're not going to be breached. In fact, there's a 100% guarantee of only 3 things in life: death, taxes, and you're going to be breached. Somebody's going to try and breach you. It may be something minor, something major, but it's a guarantee. They're trying all day, every day. So what happens? What is your confidence when you do get breached? How are you going to recover? Have you run through that playbook? Do you game that playbook every quarter or so? Is there a return to operations called RTO? Is there a certain time that's acceptable? And have you tested that to see if it's working? Are your backups working? Long list of questions. You as the executive and the CEO in the company don't need to be an expert on cybersecurity. You need to be an expert in accountability. And that accountability ties to asking these 5 questions of yourself and those in your close circle, and stepping back and saying, we've given people in our company, we've delegated responsibility to them for security. And it may be you that's the person, it could be a small business, but own that and realize at the end of the day, if you've done all these things and you are breached, can you get back? Can you recover? Are your clients going to be impacted? Are your employees going to be impacted? Are you going to go out of business, which happens to a lot of people? Are you going to be down for just one day? Can you sustain that? It goes on and on and on. So my intention here was to inspire thought, was to generate some sort of motion, like where you're questioning yourself and thinking, well, nobody's holding me accountable, so let me hold myself accountable by asking these questions. I want you to take these questions back, do something with them, and for me, what I get out of this is knowing that you've done that and that you're not going to be impacted. Don't let this be the thing that distracts you and your team from being able to service your clients. We cannot afford to lose clients during a recession or a depression or an economic downturn. These questions must be asked right now. So I hope that this inspired thought, and I really thank you for watching this. I hope that it was helpful. And if you want to learn more or find out more, there are a few other videos on similar topics. I would encourage you to watch those, get a well-rounded education, and thank you again. Hope this really helped you.